What you know about your towel on your cell when you alone at night? A jailhouse hunger strike, and you sitting in your cell in your zone one night, and you think, damn, I'm never coming home one night. 5 years in, you never been flown a kite. Damn. Man, you already know what it is. Jay Williams, let's live life, and we're back. Early morning grind, man. Early morning grind. Bad dreams up early. Like this sometimes. So I'm gonna head out, grab my early morning coffee, get this video started, get my day started right now. It is 5:20 in the morning, and I'm on my way to 7-Eleven to get some of the world's greatest but most stale coffee. Shout out to the 7-Eleven employees for leaving that old ass coffee in that pot. Luckily, I drank the iced coffee. Today, we're going to get back into my homeboy, Jacob Aquino. Bring Jacob home, man. 22 years. 22 years on something he didn't do. I'm also going to attach a petition that his family has put together to try to get him home. You got men that have taken lives that get less sentence than he does. It's crazy here in Virginia. Crimes like drug dealing and robbery will get you more time than murder. It's a fact. I know guys that killed people and went home before I did. You got 6 years for a body? Yeah, what you got? I got 10 on a robbery. It's even worse when you got somebody sitting in there that didn't commit the crime. It makes me angry. It makes the people around me angry. Especially when they hear, Jacob calls me several times a week. So they'll hear us talking on the phone. And to hear somebody that should have lost hope by now still have hope in their voice, it's an undescribable feeling when you hang that phone up. It's undescribable for the fact that I spent so many years of my incarceration side by side with this dude. This is my ace, my boom coon, man, my dude. And here it is, all these years I've been out, and he's still in there. With another 14 years to go, 22 years down. It's your life like mine is real, man. So today we're going to get into everything that took place with Jacob's case and what you guys can do to help bring an innocent man home. Everybody talks what's right and what's wrong. Let's see what you're going to do. Like I said, I'll post a petition. We'll get into the details of the case, who he is as a person, things he's been through, his life, where his life currently is, and how together we are stronger. This video is long in the making, man. You know how to see it. You know how to live it. So let's relive it. I just finished looking through a bunch of articles, right? I'm one of those guys that I'm here more for the entertainment aspect of things. I don't get into pulling case logs and case details. Most of that stuff is there. But that's not what I do. But just to verify some of the things I'm saying, I did a case on a homeboy of mine a while back, dude that used to be my friend, Kevin Rice. And the case consisted of his life up until the current moment. Up until they got a 911 call that a man at a recovery house had been found in his bedroom, hogtied, with some clothing, with his throat slit, and had been stabbed to death. Prime suspect, K-Rock, Kevin Rice. He took a plea deal this month. Pled out to 30 years for butchering another man.
Rice, the house manager at a real-life recovery house in Richmond, pleaded guilty Wednesday to second-degree murder and abduction for monetary benefit. Police said Kevin Rice murdered Robert Pulling in order to steal his bank card. Pulling's family questioned why Rice was ever put in charge of the house in the first place when he already had a lengthy criminal record. The plea puts Rice behind bars for 30 years.
No sentence a court can impose will ever make up for the tragic loss of Robert Pulling's life.
In this case, the 43-year-old defendant agreed to an active term of 30 years. This is a significant above-guideline sentence that avoids the risks of trials and unpredictable juries. Most importantly, the plea will protect the community until Rice is in his 70s.
Now, I'm not hating on him. He didn't sentence himself. It's nothing he did. He committed the act. It's the courts. Then you've got Jacob Aquino doing 36 years for 3 robberies. All that happened at one time. 3 people walking. Man walked up, pointed a gun at him. Give me your money. Said thank you and ran off. Nobody was harmed. Not a single hair on anybody's head was hurt. Startled, I'm sure. I'm no saint. I've robbed people. Not going to ever sit here and lie to you and make it seem like I'm this great person that does not have skeletons in my closet. Things that I have to deal with that I did the rest of my life. But he didn't commit those crimes. On his appeal, all that was brought up. During his trial, they brought his brother in and asked the people, could this possibly be the guy that robbed you? And they said, yeah. Looks like him. But I think we remember the other guy. The other guy might have been a little bit shorter. So they convicted him. Gave him 36 years for a crime he didn't commit. At 19 years old, with a newborn baby, they gave him 36 years. It wasn't 4 or 5 years prior to that. I was in the detention center with him. Twin, man. Went to high school with him. At 19, I was locked up in Philly on a robbery charge. At 19, he was locked up here in Virginia on 3 robbery charges. For my robbery in Philly, I got 11.5 to 23 months. That's the sentence I received at 19 years old. Very common out in Philly to get 11.5 to 23. Shout out to my Philly. Y'all see Philly in the house, 215 all day. He got 36 years. Hasn't been home since. We had a state trooper get killed out here a couple years back. Man that killed him is doing 36 years. Now that's for the single shot to the trooper's head that took his life from a Titan 25, a little piece of junk gun, just garbage. One shot to the head because he thought he had a probation violation. Boom. Took the cop's life. Got 36 years. Now that's the homicide of a police officer, 10 years for the gun, everything all compiled, 36. And yet, once again, Jacob is doing 36 for a series of robberies he did not commit. I know for fact he did not commit. Sometimes I've had guys lie to me in prison. A lot of guys are innocent. Every sex offender I ever met, except for the dude Bickley, David Bickley, piece of trash. Every one of them I ever met was innocent. Oh no. Sex offenders never do it. It was a misunderstanding. Oh, y'all got it all wrong. Oh, it wasn't me. They're always innocent. When Twin came into the cell that day, I looked up and I seen him. My other cellmate went to the hole. I was cleaning the cell, cleaning the walls down, wiping down the rack, wiping down the countertops, cleaning the floors, cleaning the toilet and sink. He walked through the cell door with his bags. I looked up at him. I hadn't seen him in many years now. Last time I seen him was in the detention center as a juvenile. So better part of 10 years, over 10 years has passed. Maybe 12, 13 at this point. I look up at him, and he looks at me and he smiles. Jay, what's up? We're men now. We got beards. Beard gang. We don't look the same. But he hadn't aged a whole lot. Because he had been locked up since he was 19. Prison will preserve you. Trying to think about where I know this dude from. I know him as soon as I look at him. I know you. Now I got to figure out where. It's like, it's me, man, Jacob Aquino. I look, Joe, this is crazy, man. What's up with you? It's not very common that happens, but I've had it happen several times. We got tight. Became really good friends, man. We were friends prior to this, but we became really, really close while locked up together. You try to do anything to my dog, you're just gonna have to go through me. You come over there and you had me under the assumption you had any type of ill intent, I was gonna bleed behind him. He wasn't no idiot. He wasn't stupid. He didn't run around causing problems. We bidded the same. Both convicts. Both stayed out of stuff. Minded our own. So if any trouble came our way, it was usually from somebody that was ignorant, not something we went and caused. So if you came looking for my homeboy, 9 times out of 10, you were going to get what you were looking for, but if you weren't even going to have to face him, you'd have to deal with me. And it was vice versa. You came over there with some rah-rah looking for Jay, and I wasn't at the cell, and any type of aggression was noted, oh, it's take flight on sight. It's how it's supposed to be when you really rock with somebody. I remember seeing him put the pictures on the wall. We had these squares on the wall where you could put your pictures. And I remember seeing pictures of his daughter when she was real, real small. I had pictures of me and my son when he was real, real small. And then both our squares were similar in the fact that they were both filled up with pictures of family members. Me and my mom, him and his mom, him and his daughter, me and my son. Our pictures were very similar. And the one thing that made our pictures similar, aside from the family aspect, is that you've seen the loved ones in our pictures throughout other pictures grow older. It's literally like fast forwarding someone's life through a series of photos. It's what prison does. I watched my son grow up through penitentiary pictures. All for nothing. Being in a visiting room, I would see his mom. Her health was bad. She'd be in a wheelchair sometimes with an oxygen mask. She loved her sons. She would come see him. By now, his brother, the guy that committed the crimes, is in prison. I think at this point he was on his second bid. Jacob ain't been home from that first one yet. Still ain't been home. So the weekends she would spend split between 2 different prisons, hours apart from each other, going to see her sons. She loved her boys. Me and Twin get into it with these gang dudes up there. And like I told you, if we were going to bang out, it wasn't no gang, especially when it came to the gangs and not being affiliated. When you're not a gang member and you got to go against all these little dudes that are clicked up and squatted up, when you go, you got to go hard. Because I ain't got 40 dudes backing me. It's just me. But I'm going to go. My homeboy right here, he's going to go. And that's what it ended up happening. We had this ongoing feud with these dudes. Me and him sat and talked about it that night, and I said, yo, this is going to get bad, man. These aren't things you can avoid, so don't look at me like I'm crazy. This is prison. Prison rules are in effect, man. Shout out to Joe Baker. Prison rules are in full effect, man. We make our way over to the chow hall where we're expecting us to pop off, strapped up. Big steel. Not no little pokers like you see on TV. I was working maintenance at that time, so we were well prepared. The stuff I had made would kill a grizzly bear with. Big shit. I don't know if somebody, one of them gang dudes, told on us. We weren't who you wanted to beef with. Because whatever weapons they had was some little makeshift trash they made around here. And they knew that with my job, whatever we had, y'all weren't ready for. We got Richmond riding on our back. My city stands behind me. These dudes know me from the streets. They knew who I was out here. I didn't go to prison to make a name for myself. My name was made before I got to prison. That was the life I led. We make our way over to chow hall, and before we know it, they're searching people. Snatch him up. Catch him with a big ass knife on him. I got lucky. I spun him. Got up out of there with the blade on me. Ditched it. Wouldn't be long after they come to my cell, tear the cell apart. But I'm a convict. I know how to move. Y'all ain't gonna find anything in the cell I don't want y'all to find. You're not gonna find anything in this cell to incriminate anybody or lock anybody up. All y'all got is the knife that y'all caught him with. And these officers like popped out of nowhere. Here we are starting our day off thinking we got to do some things we don't want to do, man. We got to hurt some people today, or they're gonna hurt us. We'll go over this chow hall, and if this is what these dudes want, then so be it. But we're gonna live. If it ends us up with a life sentence, we have to live. Have to protect self. And it ended up him getting jammed up with a knife. I honestly think somebody dropped a note. I think somebody was scared. I'm not gonna say his name. I got a good idea, but I think a certain one of them gang individuals that I had got into it with 2 days prior that couldn't beat me. We'd already established that through the fist fighting. I think his pride got in the way, and when he realized that it was going where it was going, he got scared and he dropped a note. That would be the last time I seen Jacob face to face. As he was looking at me, and they were pulling that big ass knife out the front of his pants, and like looking at me, telling me like, get up out of here, man, go. There was another building of guys returning from the chow hall they were coming out the chow hall as we were going in. And there was a group of guys coming by, and we were passing them. And when they snatched Jacob up, I turned and blended right in with them guys and made my way back to the building, escaping any type of detection. They knew, but by the time they got to me, I had got everything up off me. He got shipped off. Max custody, 23-1, way up in the mountains. Since then, prison has been what it's been, except things have changed. He's now a grandfather. That little girl I seen in the pictures, a little red-haired girl, she's no longer a child, she's a mother. His mother that used to come see him has since passed. His dad has passed, all while he was incarcerated. Both times, he had to attend the funerals in shackles, in orange jumpsuits. That's how he got to say goodbye. They usually let you come there right before the family and everybody gets there. You get a little bit of time to stay in there with your loved one, if you're lucky. And then they take you back to prison to mourn. His sister that he loved to death has grown up and now has kids. All these little children I seen in them pictures on that wall are now mothers. And he's still in prison. His whole entire chance at being a father to his daughter is gone. The one thing he does have left is the future. The opportunity to be a grandfather. and a father to the daughter that he left behind that is now a woman. He's loved by everybody in his family, including, and you're going to think I'm crazy for saying this, his brother. That's what he told me. Now let's touch back on what I was talking about when I said everybody's innocent, right? Right? Met a lot of dudes that said they were innocent, especially guys with crazy charges. When Jacob told me he was innocent at first, I'm like, yeah, all right. Yeah, me too, man. Hey, if you get away up out of here, let them know I ain't do it either. Always took it. No, I didn't. You want to believe somebody, but you done heard so much crap in the past, you're just like, whatever. And he told me, he said, my brother's about to get out. And he's going to let the Actual Innocence Project know that he committed those robberies. I'm going home, baby. Jay, I'm up out of here. So I started to like turn an eye like, this dude might actually be innocent. He's talking crazy. Drinking too much or something, man. What are you talking about? Brother writes him a letter and I read it. Says, look, I'm gonna make things right, man. When I get out, I'm going to them people and I'm letting them know I did them robberies, man. I'm gonna get you home. I'm sorry, it ain't right. I read that letter. Sat there in disbelief. Damn, dog, you're really innocent? You ain't believe me? I mean, you hear it so much. Damn, you're innocent. Then one day we get mail. I'll never forget it. One of my triggers in life is people breaking things around me, throwing things, screaming. Them things will set me off. They'll cause me to immediately go into defense mode because of my childhood. My guard goes up and I want to fight immediately. But me and him were different. We were more like brothers than we were friends. He gets mail one day, rips the letter open, reads the letter. Not paying no attention to him. Doing what I'm doing. And he just commences to breaking everything that he owned in the cell. CD player, you name it, TV, everything he owned, he slammed in the floor and just went into a rage. Destroyed everything he owned in the cell. I hopped up, bro, you know, lost your mind. What's wrong with you? It's one of my triggers. I didn't understand what was going on. He just looking at me and his eyes all full of tears. What's wrong with you, man? He shoves the letter out towards me. I snatch the letter out of his hands. And I start to read. It's a letter from his brother. Stating that I can't do no more time, bro. I know I said I was going to get out and tell them people. I did it. I was going to confess to committing the robberies. But, man, you just got to do the time, man. I just got out. I can't go back and do no more time, man. You on your own. Ever since that day, his hopes of coming home, any time earlier than 36 years he was sentenced to, have been shot down. The dream of walking out of there is over. Come to terms with the fact that at 19 years old, they gave you 36 years for not only a crime where nobody was hurt, but a crime you didn't commit. You got to come to terms with the fact that when you leave up out of here, you're going to be an old man. And you'll be lucky to leave up out of here if somebody don't kill you or you don't kill them in the course of 36 years. You know how much stuff takes place in prison in 36 years? You know how much stuff he's been through in 22 years? How many times he's been shipped up to supermaxes for getting caught with weapons? Disciplinary reports? And it's easy to say, well, look at his conduct while he's in prison. It's real easy to say if you ain't never been in prison and know how you have to conduct yourself. It's easy to say we're not going to let you out because you got caught with a shank, when you ain't never been in prison and known the need of a shank, or known what it is to have to protect yourself from that crazy son of a bitch over there that wants to kill you. So, the year before last, they came in with this new law. Parole was abolished in Virginia in 1995. Meaning, after 1995, I think it was June or July, if you were sentenced, you had to do 85% of your time. The chances of going home any earlier didn't exist. So before 95, if you caught a life sentence, you went up for parole every so often. You could potentially go home. I know good men that went home. But after 95, you were given life. Oh, that was it. Your life was over. You're never going home. You're given 36 years. You won't make parole and go home in 5. And that's what the juries thought when they were sentencing these young men all this time. He was sentenced right at 4 years after parole was abolished, and the jury was under the assumption when they gave a 19-year-old 36 years that, well, he'll make parole in a couple years and come home and it'll all be okay. No, he won't. He'll do it. So they made this new law called the Fishback Law for guys just like Jacob that were sentenced to extreme amount of time without the juries being notified that there's no parole. So that puts him in a position where after all these years, he's now eligible to make parole. Here's the catch-22 with his case. In order to be paroled, you have to show remorse for your crime. You have to admit to what you did. So it forces him to have to lie to these people and own up for something he didn't do. But what would you do? Sit in there for another 13, 14 years? After it's now 23 years? Or would you just say, all right, man, whatever, I did it and I'm sorry, please let me go home? Whatever. I was a sniper in the bell tower. Whatever you want to say I did it. Just let me go home. And that's the predicament we're left in. I spoke at his last parole hearing, and I will speak at every parole hearing moving forward. Needs a lawyer, he'll have one. And right after his parole hearing, you know, the whole damn Virginia parole board was fired. So none of what we spoke about that day mattered. It didn't even go in front of a parole board. It went in front of one person who probably looked at his case for less than 2 minutes. Oh man, 2 different possession of weapon charges. Oh no, shut down. I just moved it on. You would trip if I told you some of the other people that made parole that went at the same time he did. You trip. My mission is to get him home, back with his family. He may never be able to run around with that little girl that's his daughter. He'll never be able to pick her up, swing her in his arms, watch her run across the playground, but he still has that opportunity with his grandchildren. I've linked the description to the petition we're trying to get signed so that we can get Jacob Aquino home. He's got a job waiting. He's got a whole family that loves him, is waiting on him, minus his mother and his father. Now we get him home. That's why I tell y'all, protect me, Lord, protect me from friends. I can handle my enemies. Sometimes in life, it's not the people that we know we got problems with that we got to worry about. It's the people that we don't know. It's the ones that we think are our friends, our loved ones, the ones that are close to us. Those are the ones we have to worry about sometimes. I've done other videos on this, but I think this is where I'm gonna drop off of this one, man. It's messed up all the way around the board. This is somebody I know personally, somebody I love, man. Somebody that's family to me. Somebody that I would have no problem leaving my kids with. No problem meeting my mom. Somebody that I consider a friend. Somebody I know that always has my best interest at heart. Your friends are not the people that are going to get you in trouble. Your friends will not watch you go get yourself in trouble. They will advise you not to do so. Anybody that stands there and stands by and watches you go destroy your life is not your friend. And anybody that invites you along to do that to your life as well is not your friend. He's not one of those people. And I just want him to come home. Just as much as his family does. But anyways, these jail institutions, these detention centers, these prisons, they're all just crazy worlds inside of a already crazy world we live in. And as always, y'all know what I'm doing. Just trying to keep y'all entertained. Are you not entertained? And like always, this is Jay Williams, Let's Live Life. And to all my reals, and there are some reals watching. Y'all still watching me, man. Y'all know how we do. Salute. It's your life like. Mine's is real. Everything's signed and sealed.